There was another report from the old sheriff's office and jail, which was now being operated as a restaurant and bed and breakfast, known, naturally, as the old jail. It was featured on all the haunted shows that continually played on cable stations. Another theft had occurred. The 19th century office and jail sat next to the Gilded Lily, while the Paris saloon and the old stables were across the street. While it was small in comparison to major tourist destinations like Tombstone, Lily had made something of a comeback. The other side of the saloon, in an old barber shop, had become a state-of-the-art salon and spa, and next to it, in the old general store, was a place called Desert Diamonds, a souvenir shop that also boasted a pizza parlor, ice cream, and a barista stand. It was also a small museum. Grant Winston, proprietor, had been around since practically the Dark Ages, and he displayed his old newspapers and artifacts in a special climate-controlled room in the back. Main Street was hopping as a tourist destination. The old stables offered horseback riding, day tours, and haunted night tours. They'd even arranged a few styrofoam relics out in the desert to heighten the pleasure. Shaking his head at the marvels of modern commerce, Sloan paused for a minute. A breeze had picked up suddenly, and a large clump of sagebrush went skidding down the road before him. He was struck by the feeling that something was about to change, that dark forces were coming to life in Lily, Arizona. He couldn't help grinning at his ridiculous feeling that the sudden chill in the air and the sweep of sagebrush could be a forewarning of some kind of evil. He opened the door of the bed and breakfast. The old sheriff's desk was now the check-in counter, and the deputy's desk held a sign that read concierge. Because, of course, in Lily, Arizona, you needed a concierge. But the concierge did double duty, working the morning coffee and continental breakfast station that was laid out in the old gun room, and pitching in when the gun room turned into a restaurant. The food wasn't bad, and there was often a need for reservations, since the room held only 6 tables.
Sheriff, thank God you're here.
Mike Addison, owner and manager of the old jail, was at the sheriff's desk. He stood quickly when Sloan walked in.
"I came right over, Mike," he said. "What is it this time?"
The couple in room 1, you know Hardy's cell?
Mike said dramatically.
They were robbed last night.
"What happened?"
They woke up this morning and their wallets had been stolen. I wouldn't believe it myself, Sloan, if they weren't such fine people, and if they weren't so honestly upset. The husband says they were over at the Gilded Lily. They saw the show, had one nightcap, and came back. As you know, only our guests have keys to the front and the cells. I swear I can't figure out how someone could have gotten into their room."
Mike was in his 30s, tall, lean, and earnest. He'd come out from Boston, having been a lover of all the Old West movies he'd seen growing up, thanks to cable channels. He'd bought the jail from old Coot Stevens, who'd first turned it into a B&B. Mike had worked hard to maintain its historic aspects and make it a nice place to stay. While the rooms were extremely small, they'd started out as cells after all. They featured beds with luxurious mattresses, exceptional air conditioning, and tales of the outlaws who'd lived and died in the area. Some in the cells, and some at the scaffolding on Main Street.
"Where are they?"
Sloan asked.
The breakfast room. I offered to spike their morning coffee. They were so upset. Jerry and Lucinda Broling.
Sloan nodded and went in. The walls were covered with various weapons and rifles dating from the early 1800s to the 1960s. The tables were stained wood, which gave the place atmosphere and was easy to clean. The young couple in question certainly looked dejected enough as they sat at the table, heads bowed and shoulders slumped. They appeared to be in their late 20s. Jerry Broling glanced up with hope in his eyes as Sloan entered.
"It's the sheriff, honey. He'll do something. Everything'll be fine, you'll see,"
he said. Lucinda, a blonde with cornflower blue eyes, smiled tremulously. She'd been crying.
"How do you do, Sloan Trent,"
he said, introducing himself.
"So,